Hi, I'm Graham from Second Era of Moles, and if you clicked on this video accidentally, 90 seconds is all I ever ask. Welcome back to another week that was on Pokemon Masters X. Welcome to another week for the Kanto Champion Stadium. In addition to that, we've had the Legendary Gauntlet ongoing. We've had the Curious Tea Party event kick off. We've had a rerun of the Pasio Eggsplorers event, so plenty to keep us seeing and doing. So it seems I was correct with my prediction of the Champion Stadium moving on to the Kanto region. Not so much with my predictions about the Johto and Alola regions, but they were second and third. So, you know, if you're going in order, the first one wins. In round 1 this week, you get a sync move countdown reduction as your condition. I went up against Agatha for this one. She was weak to ghost types. So my team was Anniversary, Lily and Lunala. Battle Points, Morty and Miss Magus, and Phoebe and Dusknoir. I decided to try a few different point options here. So things like half ally MP, some things that I haven't used before. Mainly because I was banking on Lily just going to town. And she is amazing. So you start off with Shining Moonlight, then you're moving on to Moongeist Beam. You're using that move as much as you can because it's going to be what wins you the battle. Morty is doing I See You and then Astonish. Phoebe is raising crit hit rate in there as well. She gets the first sync move for that 6x boost. It comes along very quickly, so you don't have to wait long for it. After that, it is just Moongeist Beam. There's the move gauge can be a bit of an issue, so you use a Moongeist Beam, you can't necessarily then use an Astonish or a Confuse Ray. You have to use Unbreakable Bonds, and if you don't get many refreshes on that, it's kind of like just waiting for Moongeist Beam to refresh. That's not really an issue though, because it just slices through the enemy as much as possible. And then you get down to Lily's sync move, which comes second. You do that and it clears out everything else. I've put in my notes that it's a battle ender, and indeed it is. It ends the battle. For round 2 this week, your condition is a physical attack boost. I took on Lorelei for this one, and my team was Elesa and Zebstrika, Volkner and Luxray, and Hilbert and Samurott. So I've done this team many times for Electric Week stages, and the idea is that you set electric terrain, you make sure that Elesa's speed is as high as possible so that inertia kicks in, you do Electrify before the sync move, and you just wipe the other team out completely. So knowing that you've got that in the bag, it allows you to choose your points options quite easily. So for example, I've got healing down because no one has any healing apart from Electrify, but you're not using it for that purpose. So Lorelei's Dugong is going to start off with some liquidations. That hits Hilbert quite hard. He should have endurance, which is going to help him survive it. But if you wanted to finish the battle with as much health as possible, you could go for like Waterfall and Thunderfang to get as much flinching in there as possible. Hilbert does get the first sync move for that 6x boost, and then the second one is going to go to Elesa for the aforementioned big sync move setup. In round 3, you're given the condition of a stats reduction boost. I chose to take on Lance for this one. He was weak to fairy types. So my team was Sycamore and Xerneas, Lily and Clefairy, and then Professor Oak and Mew. So you've got Lily in there for Disarming Voice to reduce stats, and then Oak and Mew are kind of the original stats reducers with Swift and Unfortuitous 9. On my first attempt, I had Lily as the sort of tank in there. She's not very suited to that. Sycamore is much more suited to that with his Horn Leech and just kind of generally bulkier. The reason for that is Lance's big attack is Double Edge, and that's going to hit hard. It's even going to hit Xerneas hard, so you need that big health recall from Horn Leech, which Lily just doesn't have unless you somehow manage to get her sync move for synchro healing and then an X accuracy in there, but even then that's not going to quite fill her health up as much. So Sycamore is going to get that first sync move for all of the boosts that come along with it. Then Lily is going to take the next few because she's a fairy type, she's also 6x. It gives you that team synchro healing as well. It's only really when you've taken out both of the sides that you would then go on to Mew. and then you can start using Oak's research and whichever move out of the 4 that you get that you fancy. The sides are going to be chipped away at because Disarming Voice and Swift hit everyone, as does Dazzling Gleam with Xerneas, but you're mostly going to be using Hornleech. Remember to set Welder's Vast around about Lance's sync move so that when everyone takes that damage, they're also passively healing afterwards as well. So a little tip for dealing with those double edges from Lance is that you can put a full power onto Xerneas before it uses a Hornleech there. That's going to guarantee that it's a crit hit. That means more damage. That means it gets more health back from it. So this one is going to take a little while to get through, but ultimately it's rewarding. In round 4, your condition is a move gauge boost. I was taking on Bruno for this one, the remaining member of the Elite 4, and my team was Cynthia and Garchomp, Acerola and Palossand, and Skylar and Swanna. So this is a sand team setup, and then you've got Skylar in there to both boost defense and also tank through with her potions. So you start off with Astonish with Acerola. In that first sort of phase up until the first sync move, you want to save your Sandstorms because you don't really get any benefits out of using them. With Cynthia, you're boosting attack. With Skylar, you're taking flight. She gets that first sync move. Then in that next phase, that's when you can set Sandstorm. You can use This Match Is Too Much Fun to give additional boosts to Cynthia. Skylar's going to be moving on to Gust here. You're building up to Cynthia's sync move, which is going to do a lot of damage and get Mega Garchomp. Bruno's going to sync next after that, so you maybe want to have some potions lined up. Probably one each for Garchomp and for Skylar, just to keep everything looking rosy. You're going to be earthquaking the entire way through, so that's going to do reasonable damage to Bruno, but it's going to take out the two sides as well a lot more quickly. Another sync move from Cynthia, and then you're just earthquaking until Bruno is absolutely buried. And the entire time through this, in my head, I've just been thinking, we don't talk about Bruno. It's like, don't sing it. Don't sing it. In round 5, your permanent condition is a physical attack reduction. I was planning on using physical strikers, so I chose the physical attack boost. So as always in Kanto, you're taking on blue. My team was blue and Blastoise, little blue on blue action. I had Tech Kabutops from an egg, and then Emmett and Archeops as my striker in there. This is also a sand team. It's kind of a similar setup to the previous round. I didn't want to just use Olivia though, because it's like always rock, always Olivia. It's got to do something different once in a while. And I was quite happy with it. Emmett is a very good striker. Tech Kabutops in there is a sand setter, and honestly not much else. And then Signasuit Blue is the great shield that protects both people and Pokemon alike. So again, you don't start with setting sand with Kabutops, you boost stats, you boost Emmett's stats as well in there. Blue does X defense and then gets that first sync move for the team endurance. After that, in that second phase, that's when you set your sand. You're starting to do rock slides with Emmett, because that's a 4-bar move. It hits everyone, but it's a 4-bar move. It's more powerful, but it's draining on the move gauge. So you're using a to the top with blue to keep it whizzing back up again after you've used that. When Emmett's sync move comes, it does a reasonable amount of damage. I don't have him at 6x yet, and I only have him at 1 out of 5, so there's probably grid nodes that will make him even more powerful from there. Tech Kabutops is probably going to faint to Blue's sync move. Blue has a very powerful sync move. There's not much you can do about it. He's champion of the region for a reason. So you're keeping on with Rock Slide until both of the sides go down, and then you're moving on to Stone Edge and doing that big. Hurricane is going to be your main worry from Pidgeot. That's why it's probably not a good idea to have the sync move countdown, because that Mega Evolution makes the battle a bit more difficult. Your team endurance though is going to come to your rescue, because that means that you always have to do that extra hit, and your support, whether it's Blastoise or whether it's your main striker, they get that one extra move in there to keep doing damage and hopefully take down blue. So that's another 10k point run for the Kanto region. Look at Emmett's face. Look how happy he is. Happy guy. We'll be back in Kanto next week for another 10k point run. The legendary Gauntlet is still ongoing, at least while I'm recording it. It's on the last day. I've really not enjoyed this one. Moltres has been way too much hassle for me. So in case you're not aware, his gimmick is weather, permanent sun in the second bar. Permanent sun guarantees a hit, and it also guarantees a burn, even if they're not using a fire move, which is like kind of dumb to me. I don't know. So most of the teams are either relying on weather, very limited weather units, or they're relying on flinching, which is so frustrating because you've got to have that luck to keep it permanently flinching. I've not had it very much, so yeah, I take solace in the fact that I only got one more Moltres to beat, and then I can beat the other ones to get up to 10 or 11 wins. But yeah, I'm not going to try and beat it an extra time. I don't think either my phone or my heart could take it, because I'll either have a heart attack or I'll throw my phone out the window. So yeah, I'm probably in the minority here, but it's just not a game mode that I enjoy at the moment. The newest event that we have is the Curious Tea Party. It follows a similar sort of format to the War Games battle back in sort of September, October time. So there's 4 different parts to it, one for each character: Lily, Sonia, Ingo and Emmett. And each week you do a little story, and it unlocks a key, and you can lock another character's story area and do the rewards and all that sort of thing. So for the first week I went for Sonia. Not sure why, just that's what I felt like doing. I think next week I'll probably do Ingo, and we'll see what goes on with that. We've also got a rerunning of the Pasio Eggsplorers event from last year. I think that's the first event that we've actually had a rerun of since I've started doing the week that was, so it's good to know that everything comes around again. May in her bunny costume is still absolutely adorable. It's like, should I puff her? Should I? Could get better. Should I? Don't know. So your full force battle is weak to fighting and fairy types. So I went with a team of Sycamore and Xerneas, Wally and Gallade, and Skylar and Swanna. So I needed the defense boost in addition to the special defense boost from Sycamore's sync move, so that's why Skylar's in there for take flight. Wally's your striker when they're weak to fighting types. He's also a little bit glassy, which is why you need that defense boost in there to keep him going for that bit longer. Sycamore is tanking through, and then he becomes the main striker when the enemy is weak to fairy types. Anytime the enemy sinks, you're probably going to want to put a potion onto Wally to keep him topped up and nice and healthy. Your sync order is going to be Xerneas, then Wally, then Skylar, and then back to Wally again to get that 6x boost from Skylar in there somehow. So that's another week that was. I hope that you've enjoyed it. I hope the legendary arena hasn't caused you to pull too much of your hair out. In the week that will be, we'll have another week of the Champion Stadium. We'll have another area to unlock for the Curious Tea Party event. So hopefully you'll join me next week for those. Thank you very much for watching this one though. You're well past the 90-second mark. If you've enjoyed it, you can go a little bit further by liking the video, commenting, subscribing to the channel, following me on Twitter. I'm SEOM_YT. On Twitter, there might also be another notification for the week that will be. Thank you very much for watching the week that was, and goodbye.